Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, kindly hit the subscribe button. In today's video, we'll be making a short pant with elastic on the waist, or you can simply call it a short knicker with elastic on the waist. It's a very simple tutorial and it's very beginner friendly. So the materials we're needing for this tutorial are fabric, our elastic band. I'm using a 1-inch elastic band, our ruler, our scissors, our tailor's chalk. Then the measurements we'll be needing for this tutorial, we'll be needing our hip measurements, our waist measurements, our crouch length, our thigh measurements, and the full length of the knicker. So without wasting much time, let's jump right into the tutorial. So the first thing we want to do now is to fold our fabric into two. So to get the amount of fabric to fold, you divide your round thigh measurement by 2. So my round thigh measurement is 27 inches divided by 2, that is 13.5 inches. And then I'll add additional 2 inches for sewing allowance, that is 15.5 inches. So I'll be folding my fabric by 15.5 inches. So now I have a fold of 15.5 inches. So after that, I'll go ahead and draw a starting line at the top of my fabric. So from the starting line, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. So that point is going to serve as the casing where we'll be passing our elastic band through. So I'll go ahead and roll a line. So at the end of the day, this line I just drew will be our waistline. So any measurement I'm taking vertically will start from that line. So the next thing I want to do now is to mark out the full length of the short. So the full length of the short is 18 inches. Then I'll add additional 1 inch for folding at the base. That is 19 inches. So I'll go ahead now and mark out 19 inches from my 2-inch line. So I'll go ahead now and roll out a straight line. So the next thing to do now is to cut out this piece of fabric. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. So the next thing we're going to do now is to place the vertical measurement. So from my waist to my hip is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead now and mark 9 inches. And from my waist to my crouch is 13.5 inches. So I divided my hip measurement by 4. 46 inches divided by 4, that is 11.5 inches. Then I went ahead to add additional 2 inches to it, making 13.5 inches, because I want the crouch part to be very free. So I'll go ahead now and draw lines on it. So from the waistline now, I will take the full length of my short, which is 18 inches. And I added additional 1 inch for folding at the base. So now I go ahead and roll it out. So the next thing I want to do now is to place our horizontal measurements. So the next thing we want to do now is to place our horizontal measurements. So on the waistline, I'm going to be placing the hip measurement. My hip measurement is 46 inches divided by 4, that is 11.5 inches. Then I'll be adding 1 extra inch for seam allowance. The reason why I'm placing the hip measurement on the waistline is because we're going to be adding elastic to the waist, so we don't need the actual waist measurement. So I'll come down to my hip line and place the same measurements there, 11.5 inches and 1 inch for seam allowance. So on the crouch line, I'm going to be placing my thigh measurements there. My thigh measurement is 27 inches divided by 2, that is 13.5 inches. Then I added additional 2 inches to it, making 15.5 inches. That's going to be our crotch extension. So the next thing now is to connect all the points together down to your crotch line. Then go ahead now to form a curve. So on the full length of the shorts, I placed the thigh measurement there, the same 13.5 inches. The next thing to do now is to connect that point down to the full length of the shorts. So the next thing to do now is to cut it out. So after cutting, I'll open it up on the closed angle. So now I'm going to be using this front panel to cut out the back panel. So to cut out our back panel, go ahead and fold your fabric into 2 equal parts. Then you place your front piece on the fabric you folded. So make sure you leave about 1 inch space at the top. So after placing your cutout piece on the fabric, so on the closed angle, on the closed edge, I came out by 2 inches. That is, my back piece is going to be 2 inches bigger than my front piece. This is because of our butts at the back, so that it can accommodate it well. So depending on the size of the person, you can make it bigger. So at the top of on the waistline, I'm going to come up by 1 inch and I'll extend it higher. Then I'll connect it to go and meet the other point like this. So the next thing we're going to do now is to cut out the back piece. So after cutting out, this is what it looks like. We have both the front panel and the back panel. So the next thing to do now is take it to my sewing machine. Using 1/2 inch sewing allowance, I'll sew it all the way down to close the crotch. I'll do it for the front panel and I'll do it for the back panel. So after sewing up the crotch of the front panel and the back panel, this is what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place the right side of the fabrics facing each other. I'll place the right side of the front panel and the back panel facing each other like this. And I'll take it to my sewing machine. Using 1 inch sewing allowance, I'll run a straight stitch all the way down. I'll do the same thing for the other side. So when I'm done joining both sides together, I'll come over to the crotch part. Then the first thing you do is to secure the center of the crotch together using a pin. So secure it together, then sew it all the way down. So after joining both sides together, this is what it looks like. So I'm going ahead to join the crotch part together too. So after joining together, the next thing to do now is to fold in the waistline. Remember the 2 inches mark we drew at the beginning. So I'm going to fold it in a way that that 2 inches line is going to serve as our waistline this way. So this point is going to serve as the casing where we'll be passing our elastic band through. So I'll fold it in this way. Then while sewing, I'll take in 1/2 inch this way to give it a neat finishing. Then I'll sew it all the way round. Sew it all the way round. And I'll make sure I leave a 1 inch gap while sewing so that I'll be able to pass my elastic through that point. Then after doing that, I'll come over to the base Remember, we left 1 inch allowance for folding, and I'll take in half an inch this way and take in another half an inch and sew it all the way around. So when I'm done with it, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after folding in the waist, this is what it looks like. I also went ahead to give it a good press. So this is it. You can see how neatly finished it is. So I also left a 1 inch gap, like I said earlier. So this point is going to serve as the place where we'll be passing our elastic band through. So I've also finished up the base of the shorts. So you can see, using the 1 inch allowance we left. So the next thing we want to do now is to insert our elastic band. So to get the length of the elastic band you'll be needing, I'm using a 1 inch elastic band. So you take your round waist measurement. My round waist measurement is 37 inches. Then go ahead to subtract 5 inches from it. That is 32 inches. So I'm using an elastic length of 32 inches without stretching. So the next thing to do is pick up your safety pin and pass it through your elastic band like this. Then from the 1 inch gap that you left, you pass the pin with the elastic into the space. Then you keep pulling the pin, keep pulling it in this way. So keep passing the elastic band with the pin through the hole and keep pulling it this way. So you keep passing it until you get to the same opening where you started from. So I successfully passed out the elastic band. So I have the 2 edges outside from the same hole. So next thing I'm going to do now is take it to my sewing machine and sew it down. So I'll do that like 2 to 3 times just to make the seam very, very strong. So when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, this is the finished product of our short pant. You can see how easy it is to make and how beautiful it looks. I also went ahead to close up the part where I passed the elastic band through. So if you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below and subscribe to my channel. See you guys in my next video. Bye.